one of the most important things I would say about Indian music, number one, it is the music of nature, and it is intimately connected to the environment, which is why I wanted all these open, the air to come in. The ragas that we play have time association with them, so it's very linked to the world as it is. So that's very important. The other thing is that it never really evolved until recently as a major concert form with big audiences, and mostly was chamber music and small, court settings for a large part of the history. So the intimacy of it is also really important. So yes, please sit close to the front and join us. And yeah. One last thing, the instrument that you're hearing here is the tanpura, which our dear friend Matt has agreed to play. I would say he's a master tanpura player. And although it's a very simple instrument by design and by technique, it's actually difficult to do in the proper way, which is really, it is a meditation basically to play tanpura, because it's just playing this over and over again, non-stop, without fail. And it's really the whole foundation of the music. Without the tanpura, nothing can happen. It's the canvas of the painting colors of the ragas. And all ragas, all of them, no matter what they are rooted in this basic sound. And all of them evolve out of that one thing. So yeah, thanks Matt for being here.
Are you going to be playing northern, and is there a big difference, northern and southern rags?
Oh, you should take my class.
You've been after me for a couple of years.
Yeah, I know. What we play is all North Indian classical music, otherwise known as Hindustani music. The southern tradition is called Carnatic music, but both traditions use this tanpura. So there's a lot of fundamental similarities, conceptually and theoretically, even practice-wise, between the two systems. And of course, in their repertoire, in their presentation style, in the formats, they're quite different. So yes, they're very similar, but also very different.
There's no voice in Carnatic?
No. If you had to make a distinction along those kinds of lines, in a very general sense, there's more compositional material, like fixed composed material in the southern tradition. And the northern tradition is less fixed material and more improvisatory. Although, again, both traditions are highly improvisatory by nature. So maybe we'll just start with a few minutes of silence while other friends come, and please, Matt, continue.
We're on silence.
If you don't mind.
He was taking a break.
Yeah, he was trying that, but we're not going to let him get away with it. And just feel that presence of that sa, what we call sa, the fundamental frequency. And then we'll start. And I'll say a few things about Professor Roth, who's our kind of fearless leader, I think is away right now in Boston doing some important work. So I'll do the introductions, and I know it's not maybe the right thing to introduce yourself, but I really feel like I'm just representing the initiative that we've been trying to build at Brown over the last many years. So I'll say a few words about that.
You can do a selfie.
Yeah. So a few minutes of Tanpura meditation. Thank you again, all of you, for joining us. It's a pleasure to honor you on behalf of the Contemplative Studies Initiative and now Concentration. This was something that was kind of envisioned by Professor Harold Roth about 20 years ago, when I was his student, actually, and he had the beginnings of creating a new type of classroom, I would say, and a new type of pedagogy, not only in terms of the way that we approach the material, but also in terms of what we do in the class. And what contemplative studies has come to be, as it's evolved as a new discipline, a new field, is fundamentally rooted in two major things. One is the highly interdisciplinary nature of the field, and I know that's kind of a very popular term these days, but it really is what it is, and it's rooted in having perspectives from arts, humanities, and sciences, all looking at what we would call contemplative practices or contemplative states of mind that come in various forms in our lives, whether it's when we're absorbed in gardening work, or riding a bike, or playing music, or anything, can instill these kinds of deep immersive states, including many of the traditions of India and China and the Christian traditions as well. Many traditions, many religious traditions, almost all of them, in fact, have some element of silence, prayer, meditation, contemplation. And so the discipline is very interested in looking at these states of mind from these three broad interdisciplinary perspectives. In addition, it's also created a sense of intradisciplinarity that we don't see often as well. Like, for example, in religious studies, the Islam scholars will just talk to Islam scholars, the Christian scholars will talk to Christian scholars, Hindu scholars only talk to Hindu scholars. So even within religious studies, I think we're creating more dialogue because we want to look at these practices across traditions, across space, across time, and really how many of these practices, ideas, can help us in our modern lives as we face the challenges that we have to face. So one of the things we do in class is also learn different meditation techniques and practice these things in what we call meditation labs. So it's like a chance for students to learn these techniques and experience them for themselves. You don't have to believe in any of the traditions doctrinally that they come from, just as practices in and of themselves. And then we also analyze these from a very critical first-person perspective, which is the other, I would say, pillar of the new discipline, is to bring in a subjective perspective to academic inquiry, which for many years has been, kind of shunned. We want to, be very objective in our work, which of course we like to do. We like to be critical, but we also want to explore what's actually happening inside our minds, what's happening inside our bodies, and how can we analyze these things with some level of critical examination. So we had a really nice article in the Brown Alumni Monthly magazine, just the current one, and a very nice article in the BDH just a few days ago. So if you haven't seen those, check them out. We've had many concerts, programs, events, workshops. If you haven't signed up on our mailing list, please do. We're going to have many more very nice things, not only during the school year, but also in the summer, and also engage with the community, which is, again, something the Academy pays lip service to many times, but does not actually engage with. So I'm really happy that many people from outside of the university are here. So that's Contemplative Studies. My name is Srinivas Reddy. I went to Brown, studied with Professor Roth, did my PhD in South Asian Studies at Berkeley, taught in India, and throughout this time I also played sitar and learned, as did Ajit, both of us learned in the traditional Guru Shishya style, which is master to disciple. And really, if there's one thing that is critical to the music, it's really that relationship, actually. Learning the music through another living being and having it be passed down in that very traditional way, which, also, although we might not always see it that way, does inspire creativity and individuality as well. As much as you're learning a tradition, part of what all of our gurus tell us is, okay, you learn, but then you have to do your own thing. You have to express yourself within this idiom. And that's what we'll try to do tonight. And as I mentioned, Matt, also a Brown graduate, a wonderful bass player, and is playing the tanpura, the drone instrument. So thank you, Matt, very much for being here. I'd like to dedicate this concert to Ajit, actually. Yeah. Because, well, he's just such a dear friend, a lovely musician. He comes to play all of these concerts, very willingly with no money. We don't take any money or anything, and he's just a beautiful soul. So thank you. Okay, enough talking. We will start with a late afternoon raga. Yes, if you want to come close, please do. Actually, yes, definitely do. Or if you want to sit on the floor, you can too. But I mean, we used to do a lot of concerts here. I mean, sometimes it would just be like totally packed, and so we'd get the students usually to sit on the floor because that's actually how most of the traditional concerts in India are. Yeah, please, next time, please do. I mean, the concerts are also called betaks, which means, betna means to sit. So they're like sittings. So it's like that. Yeah, here you go. This is the right thing. We have to get out of here in about an hour, which is unfortunate, but try to play 2 different ragas, and so you can get a sense of it. And as I was saying earlier, music of nature, all ragas, and we can talk about this a little later, or have a time that's kind of prescribed to their playing. So we're gonna start with a late afternoon raga. So luckily the sun's still out, so this is an okay time to play this raga. It's called Patdeep, and then hopefully I'll play an early evening raga in the second piece. Music guys out there, this is from a Western perspective, a major scale with a minor third, pentatonic on the way up, and heptatonic on the way down. So we'll start first with Alap, which is a short introduction of the raga on sitar. Then we'll play a composition set to Teen Tala, slow tempo, 16 beat cycle, and then we'll play a fast tempo 16 beats, and then the next piece I'll introduce after that. So thank you again everyone for being here. Rag Patdeep. Thank you so much. You're a wonderful audience. Okay. So we're going to tune to a different raga, and so you can hear it, not only a different raga, but also a different thala. So, yeah.
Very clear. Generally it's the same thing.
Devin, actually, because well, he's been a wonderful student. He took one of our contemplative studies courses called Saints and Mystics of India, but he also is a musician and plays trombone, and he is part of the applied music program, and we work together to learn Raga music on the trombone. And there's also a cello student, Sam, I don't know if he's here. But, so if you're a Brown student or a RISD student and you are interested in learning Indian music, particularly North Indian Raga music, there's classes for that and you can do it. So this is a piece that we worked on, a Raga and a composition. We'll try to play it. It's called Yaman Kalyan. It's kind of the, you know, it's the first rag that everybody learns, and it not because it's like easy or anything. There's no such thing as an easy rag, but really because it's full of scope, and it's just a beloved rag in our tradition. So this is Rag Yaman Kalyan. We'll start again short alap, and then composition in Rupak Tal, which is a 7-beat cycle, and then a little theme tal like we did at the end. And then hopefully we'll have a few minutes for questions and answer, because I think that's also something we like to do, to not only play but to discuss and analyze things and answer your questions. So yeah, Rag Yaman in Rupak. I really also want to say thank you again to Matt, because what's happened even in very professional level concerts, the tanpura, which was always a mainstay of all classical performances, is particularly the instrumental format, has basically disappeared. Most artists use an app on the phone that plays electronic tanpura, which is fine and good, but there's just a world of difference between string, natural, organic sound against string, and what that creates is very special in comparison to the electronic. I don't know if you can feel that, but I really, so thanks, Matt. very much. It's getting a little hot over there.
I can't see you. I'm sorry.
It's okay, as long as you can hear, it's good. Great. Well, if anyone has any questions, we have just a few minutes, and we're really happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering what you called what you played, a raga.
A raga, yeah.
Now, what is a raga?
Right. You should take the class too.
I want to after hearing
Yeah. So a raga, it's the fundamental melodic concept that really defines the world in which we explore in Indian music. And very quickly, I mean, it's a really big thing to get into. And there's many different ragas. These are not melodies. They're not scales. I like to think of them as like they're like tonal landscapes, unique in their own way, with certain pathways which are passed down through tradition, but still leave a lot of room for creativity and improvisation. So the old definition is ranja iti raga. Ranja iti means to cause coloration. So a raga is meant to cause color. Raga actually just means color also. It comes from the same root as rang, which means color. And the idea of all raga music is to give a mood, that is a feeling, emotional, aesthetic feeling and color to your mind. So hopefully you were able to see that there was a very different color in the first piece as opposed to the second piece. I don't know if you could sense that. So that's what ragas are. They have, stricter musical things like certain notes should be used, certain notes should not be used, certain notes should be used in this combination. It's like that. But really the heart of the raga, the idea is something aesthetic and emotional. So that's a brief, yes?
I noticed the first piece was more pink and orange and yellow, and the second piece was more blue, green, and purple.
That's so interesting because that's very much how I feel them too. Patdeep for me is very red. Like it has that redness in it. That's great. So it's wonderful that you felt those colors too. And of course, different people feel them in different ways. There are certain identifications with color and rasa. Those are moods which are supposed to be evoked by music. And the rasa theory, that's like the larger Indian aesthetic principle which applies to art of any kind, be it poetry or music or sculpture or dance. Particularly theater is where it evolved from. So that's the aesthetic concept of Indian art in general, is rasa, which means flavor. So here we have another kind of maybe not color but flavor. And all music, all art, all whatever poetry is supposed to evoke these rasas. And there is a tradition that links the rasas to particular colors also. So that's great. Yes?
So it's not so much it's more to engage in the senses rather than say transcend the senses? I didn't know that.
No. It's a very, and the theoreticians talk about these exact things. And there's kind of different schools, but fundamentally what the underlying principle is, it is to fully engage in those emotions. But through that engagement, you go beyond them. So like in the later theories, there used to be 8 rasas, 8 moods that they would get into. Then they added this other 9th mood called Shanta rasa, or the peace rasa. And that's supposed to be like the ultimate rasa that you get through after you kind of go through this emotion, kind of like catharsis, but not exactly. Like the idea that you're experiencing all this stuff, and through that experience, through the feeling of all these things, you go beyond anger, fear, joy, and all that, and you're just at this place of contentment and peace. And really, that is the goal of all art in Indian philosophy, is to reach that, you could say transcendental space, but very much via the body and the emotions and all the human joys and sorrows that we feel through those things, through accepting them and really feeling them. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
I'm not very knowledgeable here, but I'm
which one? The last piece that we did?
The first one, you said, I think it was, you said when people learn it first.
That was the second one I said.
Second one.
Yeah.
But suppose you three people performing the same raga again in a few months somewhere else.
Yeah.
How much would it sound the same?
So, this is the exact very tricky thing. So we might even play the same compositions. We might play in a different time cycle. We might play very different phrases. And yet it'll never go out of the strictures of what that raga kind of defines. So it's in one sense, the raga is very specific. And a trained listener or like a connoisseur of the music would know, like within 2 seconds, without me announcing anything, that this is Rag Yaman. Obviously, you can know within a few notes what the rag is. So the connoisseurs always like to do that, like how fast they can guess the rag if it hasn't been.
Sometimes while he's tuning.
Like we get into it, but even not knowing it, I mean, I used to go to a lot of all-night concerts in Calcutta, and a lot of, I mean, you don't see this as much anymore, but the old school listeners, they didn't sit and learn, this note and that note like we musicians do, but they heard these things over time so much that the minute one phrase was uttered, they would say, aha, Rag Yaman, I know it's Rag Yaman. But they don't know that what notes are being played. They just have that feeling and that modality of that rag in their minds. So there's a very large openness to what you can do within the rag, but at the same time, it's very defined to the point where any artist playing at any time could play a phrase of that rag, and a well-tuned ear would be able to identify it. I hope that kind of makes sense. I mean, we could very well play this rag tomorrow and, play a lot of different stuff. But again, someone who knew raga music would know it was Yaman instantaneously.
There are definite pre-composed parts. It's like the refrain, but there's a lot of room, I think, for improvisation in between, and obviously different speeds.
Yeah.
As you noticed, it's sped up towards the end, and then the scope for improvisation tends to shrink, and there's more rhythmic stuff that's being done.
Yeah. But even the compositional, the fixed stuff, we might play a different fixed stuff.
That's true.
In the same rag. So if any of this sounds complicated, I really highly encourage you to come. Take the class, because it's really like an ocean. We even say that in India. It's the Sangeeta Sagara, the ocean of music. It's like it's hard to get in there right away. But really, honestly, again, none of that really even matters. Just sitting and experiencing it is the beauty. So I really have to thank all of you for being here. Yes.
Are you improving off each other? I'm getting a little confused about the compositional piece. Is it compositional for you as a sitar player and for him as a tabla player?
Oh, you guys are asking the good questions, man.
So
See,
what's going on between the two of you?
oh yeah, something's way going. Well, look, Ajit didn't even know what I was going to play. I mean, when I announced it to you guys is when he was like, "Oh, okay, that's what."
Because he's watching you really closely.
Yeah.
So
So the sitar, the melodic, the raga, the thala is something else. There's the two pillars of Indian music are raga, the kind of melodic zone, and then thala, which is the rhythmic zone. That's a whole other chapter we can discuss later. But someone's into it. So really the fixed material was on the instrument, but then I also called out the tala that it was going to be in. So I said rupak tal, and rupak tal, like that tal, that rhythmic cycle that we're playing in, that has a somewhat fixed compositional material to it too.
for him as well.
For him, yeah. It's a tal thing for him
Okay.
specifically. But again, within that, there's all this room. Like I'll play something, it might inspire Ajit, as you could see. I mean, like we're totally going for it. Like so, he'll hear that and play off that. Then he might do something. I get excited. Yeah. But
as he develops ideas, I try to play off of what he's doing. Like if he's doing something rhythmically interesting or melodically interesting, I'll try to formulate a response to what he just did.
Yeah.
And in that way, it's like very artistically empathetic accompaniment. And actually,
which Ajit is actually fantastic for. Not everyone can play like that either. It really takes a sensitivity that.
Even when he quiets down, I like to try to quiet down when he gets loud.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so much to discuss about how it all works and stuff, but You guys are really asking the very critically important questions. You know, it's like,
This could be.
Yes.
I have a rock yaman. I never, Rudra Bean by
Yeah.
Muhaddin gentleman.
Dagger, yeah.
Okay, and this was totally different for me, and this is like an hour and a half long.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
I was planning on laying down for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, yeah. So absolutely. But if you played that recording for me without hearing it, within 2 minutes, I would have told you, oh, this is Rag Yaman.
Even though it's slow and Rudra Bean, am I saying it correctly? Rudra Bean?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Very slow.
So that's the expansiveness of the rock. Like like we usually play much longer concerts and have a lot more time to kind of develop things. But you know, we really wanted to play these at least 2 different rags to get that flavor. So you know, like tomorrow we might play Yaman for 45 minutes. Very common. We'll play Yaman for 45 minutes. So it all depends. Yeah. So yes,
I
sir.
know you thanked the audience so many times, and I think we want to thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. So please continue to support Indian music. If you haven't signed up on the Contemplative Studies mailing list, please do. We have lots of wonderful events. And yes, thank you one last time for your presence and your love. Thank you.